Hey guys, this is Mr. H. Hey, I am going to do a video on how to find domain and range for a continuous graph or a continuous function. All right, so there's 4 steps. Very first step is you have to determine if you're looking for the domain or the range. Sometimes you look for both, but most of the time you're looking for one or the other. So determine what you're looking for. Second step, if it's the domain, you're going to draw 2 vertical lines. One of the vertical lines is going to go on the very left of the graph. One of the vertical lines is going to go on the right of the graph. If it's range, you're going to draw horizontal lines, 2 horizontal lines. One is going to go on the bottom of the graph, and one is going to go on the top of the graph. So that's step 2. You're going to be drawing either vertical or horizontal lines. Step 3, you're just going to go to the appropriate axes, and you're going to read the numbers right off the axis. So if it's domain, you're going to go to the x-axis. If it's range, you're going to go to the y-axis, and you're just going to read those numbers. And then the fourth and final step, is once you have the numbers, you have to determine, are you going to be using parentheses or are you going to be using brackets? Now, I'm going to give you the 3 conditions for parentheses. The first condition, it has to have an open circle somewhere. If you see an open circle, if the line is going through an open circle, then it's going to be parentheses. If you see the line touching an arrow or going through an arrow, that means it's going to be going to infinity, and that will get parentheses. And the final one is, if it is an asymptote, then you are going to use parentheses. If it's not one of those 3, it's going to get brackets. Now, I've said those 4 steps, but I'm going to show you what it looks like in action. So let's go here, and we are going to do a problem. We're going to do domain here. So this is domain. I'm going to take a quick picture. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 vertical lines. One vertical line is going to be here. One vertical line is going to be here. Go to the left, go to the right. All right, so the numbers. Step 3, read the numbers right off the axis. So it's going to be a -11 to a +11. Okay, now we got the numbers. Step 4, determine if it's parentheses or determine if it's going to be brackets. So let's do this. So now you see this is an open circle. So this is going to get a parentheses. This is also an open circle. So this is going to get a parentheses. So it's going to be parentheses, parentheses, a -11 to a +11. So let's go to Delta Math and enter this. So we're going to choose 2 parentheses, and then we're going to do a -11 to a +11. And then we're going to submit it. Let's see what it says. It says, nice job. All right, now let's do one that has range. Here is one for range. We're going to do the same thing, take a picture. And then now I'm going to change this to red. Now we're going to be drawing some horizontal lines. Go to the bottom of the graph. That's step 2, draw a horizontal line. Go to the top of the graph, draw a horizontal line. Now, step 3, go to the y-axis, and you're going to read these numbers right off. So it goes from a -6 from the bottom to the top. And we're going to go to 3. And now I'm going to get rid of all of this. We got to determine if it is, actually, I want to go back to these. What we got to determine is, are they going to give parentheses or brackets? Now, there are no open circles, there are no arrows, there are no asymptotes. So both of these are going to get brackets. So we're just going to draw brackets on here. Here's one bracket, here's another bracket. So now I'm going to go to Delta Math and I'm going to enter this. It's going to be 2 brackets. So I'm going to use this, and then it goes from a -6 to a +3. I think that's what we got. And then we're going to submit it. Let's see what it says. All right, so that's it. So that's how you would do it for those Delta Math questions. Now, I'm going to show you it's going to be the same process even when you use a calculator. All right, so let's go. We're going to go back and we're going to do some of these that require a graphing calculator. So now, here, we're going to find the domain of this function, the square root of x plus 1. Now, we need a graphing calculator, so I'm going to go get one. It's going to be Desmos. And now I'm just going to enter this function, the square root of x plus 1. So let's go here, f, go back. It's going to be parentheses x, parentheses equals, and then it's going to be the square root of x plus 1. All right, so here is the graph. I'm going to do a full screen, and we were looking for, what were we looking for? Domain? I forgot. Let's go back and look at that. What are we looking for? We're looking for the domain. Okay, so now that means we're going to use two vertical lines. Now, so here is the graph. Let me take a picture. And we're going to draw two vertical lines. Just like we did before, I'm going to make this blue. We're going to go right here. And we're going to go right here. We're going to draw a vertical line right there. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to draw a vertical line right here. Now, here is the difference. This is going off the screen. So you should know that means it's an arrow, and it means we're going to be dealing with infinity. So we're going to start right here, and this looks like it starts at a -1, and we're going to go all the way to infinity. All right, so now we got to determine, do we put a bracket or parentheses? There's no arrow on this side. There's no open circle. There's no asymptote, so we're going to put a bracket around the -1. On the other side, it does have an arrow, right? So we're going to use parentheses for that one. So we got -1 to infinity, and let's go and put that on delta math. So we got to go get delta math. Where are you? Right here. And then let's do full screen. So it's going to be bracket to parentheses. And it's going to be a -1. That's where we started. And we're going to go out to infinity. Let's see what it looks like. Submit it. And it says nicely done. Now let's do one more. I want to do a range one using the graphing calculator. So let's look for a new problem. This is another domain one. Let's keep going. Okay, so we got here. This is the range. It's the negative absolute value of x plus 7. All right, so we're going to graph it. So we need a graphing calculator. Let's go get one. We're going to go here. We're going to use the graphing calculator. Let's get rid of this one from the last question, and we're going to do f of x again, f parentheses x parentheses equals absolute value is going to be a negative. Absolute value is right here. We're going to put an x inside, and then we're going to put plus 7, plus 7. Now here's the graph. Let's do a full screen. Remember, we are looking for the range now. So we're going to go to full screen. Now, I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to look to see what this point is. Okay, the point goes to -7. So we got to go to let's take a picture. All right, so we're going to be drawing horizontal lines, and I'm going to use red. So go to the bottom of the graph, which is right here. And I'm going to draw a horizontal line all the way over. Boom, that's the first one. Then I'm going to go to the top of the graph, and I'm going to draw another horizontal line through there. Boom, got it. Now, what you should notice is that these lines are going off the screen, which means it's going to be arrows. And those arrows mean that we're going to infinity. So we're not starting at a -4. We're actually going down to a negative infinity because it has an arrow. And now, where's this up here? We need the y value. So the top of the graph is 7. So we're going from a negative infinity, which is at the bottom, to the top, which is 7. Going to be a parentheses and a bracket. That's it. That's how you do it. Now let me go here and enter that so we can check it. A negative infinity to a positive 7. Let's go to delta math. Here we go. I'm going to do this full screen. Delta math, we're going to use a parentheses and a bracket, which is right here. So it's going to be a negative infinity, and then we are going to a positive 7. Let's submit it, and let's see what delta math says about that. Okay, that's it. Now, I'm going to go back through this one more time. Always start by determining whether you're doing domain and range or range. Once you know that, if it's domain, you're going to do two vertical lines, right, on the very left and the very right of the graph. If it's range, you're going to go to the bottom and draw two horizontal lines, one at the very bottom of the graph, one at the very top of the graph. Now, once you get those vertical lines and horizontal lines, you're just going to go to the appropriate axes and you're going to read the numbers right off the axes. All right. If it's domain, you're going to be reading the x-axis. If it's range, you're going to be reading the y-axis. Once you get those numbers, fourth step, you got to determine, are we going to be using parentheses or are we going to be using brackets? Parentheses only occurs if there are arrows, if there are open circles, or if there are asymptotes. If none of those three conditions exist, you're going to use brackets for everything else. Now, I hope this has been useful. If it hasn't, get back at me and I'll try to clear it up. If you got any questions, leave them in the comment section. But it's just 4 steps. Every single time you have a continuous function or continuous graph. I'm going to stop this and I'm going to post.